everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this fancy fold card using the August stamp of the month called Tutti Frutti Summer. You can get this stamp for $5 with any $50 purchase or for free with a $50 purchase if you're a VIP. I'm also going to be using the Isabella pattern papers, some grape and lemonade cardstock. So let's get started. The base of our card is going to be cut at 5.5 by 10.5. This is the grape cardstock. And then I'm going to turn my cardstock and line it up at 1 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to drop my blade at the 1 3/4 inch mark. You can find it on the arm of your trimmer. So drop it at 1 3/4 and then cut to 8 3/4. And then flip your cardstock around and line it up at 1 1/4 inches. And then do the same thing. Drop your blade at 1 3/4 and cut from that mark to 8 3/4. Okay. So you've got cuts in your cardstock, but it doesn't go all the way through. Okay. Now we're going to do some scoring. So my first score mark is going to be at 1 3/4 inches, but it's only from cut line to cut line. And then I'm going to move it to 3.5 inches and I'm going to score the entire length. And then I'm going to move it to 7 inches and score the entire length. And then move it to 8 3/4 inches and just score from cut line to cut line. Okay. And then you just fold everything up in a zigzag fashion in and out to get everything to fold together. So it will fit into an A2 envelope, and it's not quite the size of an A2 card. So I'm fussing with it a little bit, but eventually it does fold up, and then you just burnish it with your bone folder to make nice crisp edges there. Okay, so it's all folded together, and that's what it looks like from the top. All right, so now we're going to cut our layering piece of lemonade. So we're going to start with a piece of lemonade cut at 5 1/4 by 10 1/4. And then we're going to cut a big rectangle out of the center of it. So we're going to use the same method of dropping the blade. So I'm placing it at 1 inches in, and then I'm going to drop my blade at 1.5 inches and cut it to 8 3/4. And then I'll flip my cardstock around and put it in my trimmer at 1 inch and drop my blade at 1.5 inches and cut to 8 3/4 inches. Okay. Then I'm going to turn my cardstock and put it in my trimmer at 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to cut it I'm going to drop my blade and cut at 1 inch to 4 1/4. So basically I'm cutting it from cut line to cut line. And then I'll flip it around and do the same exact thing. At 1.5 inches, I'm going to cut from 1 inch to 4 1/4 inches. So I'm cutting a rectangle out of the center of my cardstock. So sometimes those cut lines don't meet. So just take your micro tip scissors and finish cutting those lines. Okay, so now I'm going to put this back into my trimmer and put it in at 3 1/4 inches. And I'm going to cut in 3 1/4 inch increments. So just go 3 1/4 over and cut both sides, and then pull everything over and cut both these pieces at 3 1/4 inches, and then flip it around and cut that last piece at 3 1/4 inches. So those little bits are trash. And then it should fit in your base with an edging of grape cardstock around those pieces. Okay, so the third piece for layering is this Isabella pattern paper, and I'm going to cut this at 5 by 10. I'm going to basically do the same thing as I did with the lemonade. It's just a little bit smaller so that I can layer it and have lemonade around the edges. Okay, so I'm going to put this in my trimmer at 3/4 inches, and then I'm going to drop my blade at 1 1/4 inches and cut from 1 1/4 to 8.5. And there's not a lot in the trimmer there, so an easier way, I flipped it around, but then I changed my mind. An easier way to do it is use the measurements that are on the right side of your blade and put it at the 3/4 inch mark, and then drop your blade at 1 1/4 and cut at 1 1/4 to 8 1/2. Okay. And then turn it and put it in your trimmer at 1 1/4 inches, and then cut from 3/4 inches to 4 1/4. So basically you're cutting from cut line to cut line. And you're going to cut a big rectangle out of the center. Okay. And then you flip it and do the same thing. Put it in your trimmer at 1 1/4 inches and cut from 3/4 to 4 1/4. And then you'll need to, as I'm needing to do, bring my micro tip scissors in and then cut those cut marks to meet so that that piece will come out all the way. So you just trim it up, and then you've got a big outline there. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it into my trimmer and cut in 3-inch increments. So I'm cutting that edge piece off, and then I'll move it over 3 inches and cut those 2 pieces. And if you wanted to use those for layering, you could, but I'm not going to with this card. And then I'm flipping it around and cutting that other side piece at 3 inches. So everything layers on top of each other. Okay, for the center piece, I'm going to cut this at 2 3/4 by 3 1/4. This is lemonade cardstock, and that goes in the middle there. And then I'm going to bring this other piece of Isabella pattern paper in, and that's going to be a layering piece. So I'm cutting that at 2 1/2 by 3 inches, and that's going to go on top of the lemonade. Okay, so now we have all our pieces, and I'm going to do some stamping on these 2 pieces of lemonade and then that piece of Isabella. So I'm going to flip the lemonade over to the lighter side so that my stamping images show up a little bit better. So I've got them flipped over, and I'm going to stamp this line of fruit from the Stamp of the Month set in black ink, because I'm going to color them in using my tri-blend markers. And it's just barely going to fit on this strip. It's a little smidge too tall, but I think it works. So got that stamped on the lemonade for both of those. And then this piece of Isabella pattern paper, I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says hello right in the middle. Okay, so we'll get that down. And then I've got some white daisy cardstock here. It's just some excess scraps of white daisy, and I'm going to stamp this lemon slice in lemonade 5 times. So I'm going to cut the lemon slices out. I'm going to fussy cut those. And then I'm going to bring my sentiment back in, and I'm going to add these little extra stamped images in raspberry around my hello sentiment, just to give it a little bit more pop. Okay. So off screen, I'll cut out 1 slice, but off screen I'll do the rest. I'm just going to fussy cut. Super simple. Just turn your cardstock against your blade, cut out those images, and then I've colored in all of my images using tri-blend markers. So now we're ready for assembly, and it's pretty basic. I'm just going to use Tombow and layer everything up. So we'll add this piece of Isabella on top of this side piece, and then we'll add this piece to my base, and just leaving edging evenly all around. Got everything all layered up, and then I'll do the other side same way. Let's layer that on the lemonade and then put that on the grape. The lemonade really pops against that grape color. Super fun. And then this colored image, I'm just gonna put in the middle on the bottom and the other one at the top. And then I'll add my lemonade in the middle And my sentiment will go on top of that. Okay, so it all folds together like that. And then I'm going to add these little lemon slices. And some of them are going to go down with Tombow, and then I'll pop a couple using some thin foam tape. Keeping it really simple. Not a ton of extras. So I want those stamped images to pop. So I'll layer those up. And then for the last step, I'm going to add some acrylic dots. And these are still available. They're from the Daisy Meadows collection. So I'm just going to scatter a couple of those around in that pink color. You can use whatever you like, but this worked. And there's my card. So I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And all of these supplies are currently available in my online store. I will make a list with links in the description below, and you can shop at the URL in the upper right corner of your screen. Super cute. Close-ups here. There's your fancy fold card. So thanks for watching.